I want to talk to you guys today about WWE in general and why, after watching wrestling WWE for 30 years, that I am super excited and enjoying the product now almost more than ever. I really started to think about over the last couple of weeks, how am I enjoying WWE specifically now versus when I was younger? And I have watched from Golden Era, I've watched WWF Attitude Era, I have watched the Ruthless Aggression and so on, the 2000s, 2010s, everything. So I have watched a fair share of WWE programming, and I just want to talk about kind of my overall experience now, how I look at things, and from the in-ring and the storytelling that WWE is doing. Now, what I will say though is not everything is obviously perfect. There is still a lot within WWE's product today that I wish they would do a better job of. A lot of the production elements have been updated. The in-ring talent is phenomenal across the board, but there are still things that I don't love ultimately. I'm not just like, oh, I'm blinded by how amazing everything is. They can do no wrong. Trust me, there is plenty to pick apart from wrestling in general, and this isn't to stir up some kind of tribalism of AEW versus WWE and you're a shill and a mark for this and that. I just enjoy wrestling. I just like watching it, like a lot of people. But for watching it for so long, I'm like, wow, Attitude Era was always like the best and Ruthless Aggression Era was incredible. A lot of it is like just nostalgia and enjoying the characters at the time, like of Stone Cold Steve Austin and The Rock and Triple H, Undertaker, Kane, Mankind. Like I loved all of that. Degeneration X and then WCW's NWO. Like there was so much that I really loved about all of that, but there was still a lot of bad stuff during the Attitude Era. Like Monday Night Raw is a lot of filler and everything was like 2-3 minute matches, squash matches. But with the product today, why am I enjoying it so much more where I am really wanting to sit down and watch all of SmackDown? I really want to see what's happening on Raw. Does it give me the feeling of must-see TV? No, not necessarily, and that's also, I think, to do with the era and the age that we live in where everything gets recorded, streamed, there's highlights on Twitter, there's YouTube highlight reels every minute. You could basically watch a whole episode of Raw just from the clips being posted online, and you figure everything out without having to sit there in front of your television and do it like you did in the old days. But I still enjoy that aspect of it, of sitting down, whether it is going to be live or I just wait a little bit and then I catch it up a little bit later. I still really enjoy the process and just the sitting down, enjoying, unwinding, and watching wrestling. Now with WWE today, some of the stuff that I'm really enjoying most of all is the small changes in terms of production. Not everything is perfect the way that I would want it, but I'm just a fan. I don't know anything. But I love that they do things like they have the segues and the segments where everything is going to be a continuous shot. Now, I do feel like WWE is starting to overdo it a little bit. They really like doing it where they take Jey Uso from the back and they walk him all the way out to the crowd. It's a really cool thing to do, and it's that continuous shot. It makes it feel like a holistic universe, and you also get crossovers of people backstage. There's stuff happening all the time, and it's all intertwined. So I really like that they do these little changes to the production side of things. At its core, it's still wrestling, cut promos, fight in the ring, off you go. But promo segments are not always, they're not always 15-20 minutes long. Like when we had the Authority Era and Triple H and Stephanie would be out there for 25 minutes cutting an endless promo. But there is a little bit more cohesion and feeling that it is all kind of connected together. And some weeks WWE does this, I think, pretty well, where they feel like wrestlers are kind of working together, overlapping, they have relationships, and it's not as just black and white, like they walk through the curtain and just nothing's happened in the previous hour. They're doing a better job of this, but I think even like I saw highlights of Cody and Bayley talking together on Cody's podcast, WWE's thing they're doing, and even Bayley was saying like, hey, we've got so much talent in the women's division, but she would still like to see more natural moments of male and female wrestlers interacting, more of the females interacting together and giving you more of that natural feel of like letting their personalities really shine. I think WWE can still do a better job of that, but they still have upped production under Triple H and changed things where it's not the Kevin Dunn era and we're not getting crazy camera shots every 5 seconds. Stuff is breathing more. They take more liberties with the cameras. You get overhead shots. You get a little bit more of a sports feel and dynamic feel, which I really like. Commentary is also not insufferable for me anymore. What I've noticed is that Michael Cole, he was never my favorite commentator. Again, I grew up with JR and King is King, and some sometimes it was okay and sometimes it was brutal, and I like JR, and that's what I grew up on. And then we've always had Michael Cole there, and we've seen a cast of characters on the announce table for Raw and SmackDown over the years. Michael Cole has always been the constant, and some years he was just unbearable to listen to, especially like heel Michael Cole. Hated commentary with him for a long time because it was all over the place. His lines didn't make sense. Sometimes he's a face, sometimes he was a stupid heel, and he was annoying to listen to while he was on commentary. But so much of that, I think, was just Vince McMahon producing him and him having to go along with it. And as soon as Triple H came in, Vince was out, you start hearing more of just Michael Cole having genuine reactions, and literally like the shots ringside of him reacting with Pat McAfee and jumping up and down, giving you actual reactions and talking more loosely and openly and cracking jokes on commentary. It feels so much more lively. And I understand that they've hired another commentator that's going to be joining them on Raw or SmackDown, can't remember, but it's feeling more lively, more sports feel, that kind of thing, and it just feels more relaxed versus the rigidness of Vince McMahon, and you could just totally tell the commentators were having to say certain lines. So I'm really enjoying commentary overall than I did definitely in the last like 10 years. Now with in-ring, I have zero issues. Like the WWE style of wrestling, it is a certain style, a certain formula. Do I love all of it? No. I feel like some stuff is just predictable in terms of hitting their spots, and stuff feels kind of like, I'm gonna wait for you to do this thing, then you do that move, and you can kind of feel, or a sequence of moves where it feels like Cena's 5 moves of doom moments, where you have that with kind of every wrestler, where you know they're gonna do certain things and you're kind of waiting for it. But I do feel like that's kind of been adapted and it's changed a little bit, and I don't feel like it's as black and white and feels rehearsed in some cases. It's not always perfect. Like I can go to AEW and watch that and get just crazy banger matches every single week from the talent. And if I want that fix, I know I'm gonna go watch that so I can see some really cool stuff happening. WWE's in-ring, while impressive, still feels very much the same as WWE. But again, I go back and say part of what I really like nowadays is the production changes, because it's giving it a little bit more of a dynamic feel to it. Matches are generally as long as they need to be for me. Like if I'm gonna get a 10-minute match or 12 or 15-minute main event, then so be it. It's pretty fun. But so much of what WWE is doing now that I enjoy is very much in the storytelling and that cohesive universe that they are starting to build better and better. It takes a long time, but you're not feeling like everyone is just in their own bubbles and they don't interact. You see a lot more pieces and superstars and storylines intertwined, where we get Cody and Randy mixing it up, feeling like Randy's gonna turn on Cody and like that's a storyline. You've got Cody in the Bloodline as a storyline, Roman as a story. You've got the Judgment Day, Liv, Rhea, the dynamics in there. The tag division, they're even trying to build up a little bit more. Like you have DIY, but you have Austin Theory, Grayson Waller's relationship and that dynamic changing. It doesn't feel like it's just wrestler A versus wrestler B for a month and then they move on. Like not long ago under Vince, it was 2 out of 3 fall matches, women's matches for 4 minutes, promo segments were 15 minutes long and they were a slog. You still got some good stuff, don't get me wrong. Like you would go and watch the pay-per-views of the PLEs and you'd still be blown away by matches and have a great time. So I'm not saying it's all bad under Vince. It was not. Like there was still great highlights in there, and there were some killer banger matches and gauntlet matches and so on. But I'm finding that nowadays, particularly with the storytelling, the story in the universe is feeling more lively and awake. And I feel like I'm looking for more of these like Easter eggs and little details when I'm watching the show, and you see who's interacting with who, and it's building off of that. And the other piece with all of that too, everybody, is that it's the long-term storytelling, and something that personally for me as a wrestling fan that I've been craving for a very long time. I like the long-term storytelling. I'm still finding that I'm not totally used to it for WWE, because I've spent a lifetime of watching wrestling and conditioned to things being a certain way. And sometimes WWE does really good long-term storytelling. Like they will do a program that's multiple months long, but now we're getting into an era of Triple H's vision of having very long stories, not for everything, but very long stories for the big storylines, and they're going on a year or longer. And what I'm finding that's happening, or what I see anyways from just as a viewer, is that I'm looking more at like year by year. So as we are into the summer and SummerSlam is around the corner, you can see that there's going to be the big stories of Roman and Cody and everything, the bloodline. But I as a fan am looking at the bloodline story, not by, oh, what's gonna happen now and then Bash of Berlin and then it wraps up. It's like, well, WrestleMania is only 6 months away. They can easily get there. I'm like, oh, they're not even close to finishing this story arc, this chapter. I know Triple H has made mention in interviews and things that he's like, well, the story never ends. They just keep going, it keeps evolving. And that's kind of how you want to do your storytelling. Because one of the hard things to do with, say, Cody and having a babyface champion is keeping them hot, relevant, overcoming obstacles, giving them new things to have to overcome. Because it's still an issue in WWE. You still get boring stuff happen, or someone becomes champion and you're like, it's not very interesting anymore. The story isn't very deep. But I'm finding that I'm looking more at the long-term storytelling of all of this, where it's going to be months, if not another year ahead, and going, oh, I wonder what they're going to do next. And that's kind of the other thing, is just I have a feeling more and more of what's going to happen next. Like there's more curiosity when I'm watching WWE, because there's different things that they set up and they just tease and plant in there, and it keeps you kind of guessing. And you're getting hotter and hotter crowds as they go to the WWE shows, and that's something that I really like seeing, because it was not long ago when you were looking at pre-pandemic, the crowds in WWE were shrinking. The product was hard to watch week to week, endless rematches. It was not very fun to watch at all. Raw was still considered the flagship show. It eventually kind of started to feel like it was pivoting, and SmackDown was a bigger deal. But both shows, like SmackDown for so long was like a recap show for Raw, and Monday Night Raw being 3 hours for so long, and it still is hard. 3 hours is too long for wrestling. It just is. But a 3-hour show was definitely hard, and the crowds were not into it, and you would see everyone just sitting on their hands and no one was excited. And then now I feel like crowds are way more invested. They're invested in more of the characters, more of the storylines. And when, I don't know, simple stuff happens, like a brawl or a beatdown or something, or a promo segment, the crowds are more engaged. They're more into it. And I think because I'm the viewer, I get more invested. If the crowd is hotter and popping more and enjoying what they're seeing, then I'm going to be enjoying what I'm seeing a lot more. It's been more fun to just have fun and enjoy it lately, and just go along for the ride and just enjoy what is being presented. And those are just some of the things that I'm enjoying about WWE right now. But guys, what do you think? Let me know in the comments below. What do you like or don't like about WWE right now? What's working, what's not for you? Let me know if you like in-depth topics and conversations like this as well. If you want to talk more, we've got the possible epic return of Roman Reigns at SummerSlam. It's heavily rumored. We go in depth in discussing that, Cody Rhodes and the bloodline, all that good stuff. Have a great day. See ya.